This is just one that hasn't been totally completed, but the actual popper, there's a couple of things you want to have. You want to have a set of bulging eyes, because the frog has bulging eyes. The fish look at the frog from the bottom up. They could care less what the top looks like. It's the top of a fly, like a popper, catches fishermen, not fish. However, you want to have it as close to true as you can. Now, if you'll notice, the bottom of it is not white. I don't know about y'all, but I've never seen a white bottom frog. I've never seen a solid bright green frog. So what we're going to be doing is taking a standard popper. These start out as soft poppers. And what we're primarily doing this morning is going to paint them. Now, to save time, I've taken the poppers and I've already put them on the hooks, sanded them down, and then put the primer on there, and then the covering, the sealer. When you're doing that, you want to make sure you start out with a good base color. And in this fact, I like the dark green. These were yellow, so it doesn't matter what colors they are. But some of them were green, some of them were white, immaterial. When you go to set, get something to draw with here. When you go to set your hook in the actual popper, okay, your popper may look something like this. I hope it doesn't look this bad. All right, you're going to have a slot. It's right about here. And it comes all the way through. Okay, you're going to have a little tick, a small piece about the head of this marking pin that's going to be sticking out right here. Okay, you want to cut that off. It serves no purpose whatsoever except to get in your way. But you want to cut that off. That's when they pull it out of the extrusion machine, that part is just like a piece of a model airplane that you have to break off. That's where that little tit comes from. So cut that off, and it's going to have a slit right here. Of course, your shank of your hook is going to come out here and around, but when you go, and this is the important part, when you go to set your hook in there, set the eye of your hook right about here. You don't want to set it up in the center. You don't want to set it here at all. Anybody that's done regular spin casting or bait casting, you know, whenever you cast it out, you want it to go bloop, bloop, bloop. That's sound effects. But if you're stripping that fly, all you're going to get is pushed water if you put it in the center. You're not going to get any sound whatsoever. And you're not going to make bubbles. And that's part of what you want, is making bubbles with that frog. So set it down in the lower section. You've got a ridge that goes around it, all the way around, and you're going to set it right inside that ridge. And that little ridge goes all the way around. So by doing that, it helps you in the overall effect of your bug. Now your bug that we're going to use today is a standard bass popper. Like I say, we've already set the hooks on these. We've already painted them and sealed them. I use acrylic paint. We sell the small bottles of this. I have to buy the larger ones because when we do classes, but the small bottles are like $1.50 and not very expensive at all. But acrylic paint has a tendency to run if you're not careful. Once it dries, you don't have a problem if you're going to use one kind of hardener. or as they say, you know, lacquer. It's nail polish. Right? The nail polish that I prefer to use is Sally Hansen's Hard as Nails. It doesn't cause the paint to smear or to spread. It won't bleed on you. Now, if it's not dry, it may bleed, but I've never had a problem with bleeding after the paint's dry. The reason why you want to seal it is because otherwise it's going to have a soft effect, almost like it's still rubbery or spongy, and you don't want that part. So when you get through of loading it on the hook, you're also going to sand the bottom where it has the seam, and we normally use emery boards, just a standard emery board that you can pick up at dollar store, because you want to be able to mold it. If you've got an indentation, you can still take it and go over it with an emery board. You can curve them. Some of the thinner ones you can actually take in your hand and curve, which makes it easy. And as an aside to that, when you're cutting hair, doing a popper out of hair, deer hair, you take a double-edged razor blade and you bend it, and it gives you the perfect symmetrical cover that you want. That's how you get the hair done in this style. But since it's already like this, you know, just use the emery board. Here again, the acrylic paint, I usually put 2 coats of acrylic paint over it, and then I'll put 1 coat of hardener over it to seal the body end. Then you can do the painting. Now, what I'd like to do is give you all a hook to start with. These have all been done, and
Hardening on before you paint it?
oh yes, oh yes. You always put your hardener on before you paint it. Now, I want you to put that in your vise. Let me get you to a vise.
I'm just here to watch.
Yeah, I just came to watch. Thank you.
I have got vices.
That's all right, I'm just gonna
Yeah,
watch.
we know that.
I'm just watching.
See how easy it is? Okay. Now, this is one that I've completed. If you'll notice, it has legs. These are called silly legs because they're just real easy. They flop around and they're barred. Barred means they have black marks all the way up, symmetrical. I use either bucktail or body hair, not bucktail, but body hair on these. These are a couple that have been painted. I'll use body hair inside, then I will use hen hackle for the other legs. When you put this on, you're trying to emulate a frog as it's getting around. Now, pins are about out, I think. When you're putting on your hairs, your coverings, your hook's not coming too far out. And you're going to have the eye of the hook here. Now, you're going to take and wrap your hook as you normally would any other fly. You're going to coat your hook with your thread. After you put your hook on, you're going to take and run you some deer hair just past the end. You're going to run 30, 40 pieces of deer hair in there. Use your hair stacker to make sure you have the tips where you want them. Now, after that, you're going to start out with your hen hackle. Now, your hen hackle, as you know, starts out real small and opens up. Well, all of this, you want to put 2 pieces of hen hackle on both sides. Hen hackle, just like any other feather, has a natural curve to it. It'll either go over and down or over and up. So what you want to do is you want to put this hen hackle on there, and it's going to be coming out 2 sides, 4 pieces of hen hackle. After you put the hen hackle and the deer hair in here, you're going to want to put, maybe, depends upon what you're doing, maybe you're wanting to put some chenille on into here. Now you can put your chenille in here. It does not bother it at all. Sometimes it helps it with the flotation. Once you get your chenille in, then you're going to go to your hackle again. Now, your fibers of your hen hackle are going to be all the way back to about here. Right about here, you're going to start your hen hackle again, but you're going to spin your hen hackle in through here. And of course, that hen hackle is going to flare out, and it's going to produce the collar that you want. Now, once you have your collar, you're almost completed. However, then you're going to need to put your legs in. Your silly legs is one part of it that is kind of different. You can put them anywhere you want. I prefer to put my legs back here. Now, I usually use 4 legs. And how you get those legs in is, you see that little indentation right here? That's where I've taken a bodkin, or a large heavy-duty needle, and stick it all the way through. You're going to start here, push it straight through. You want to look down onto the popper while you're sticking it through so that it doesn't come like this. A lot of people, whenever you tie it in there, if you just go from one side and you don't look down, you may have it off-centered. So make sure you turn it so that you can look down. Once you've got that through, take your bodkin, waller it out a little bit on both sides, because then you're going to take a needle threader. The needle threader is just like the one you use at a sewing machine. We have them that have got a large orange ball on the end of it, and they're rather big because that's what you want. You'll stick that through. You get your silly legs about that long, 4 of them, and you dampen them. Either in the water, stick them in your mouth, whatever. Put about that much of the silly leg through your needle threader, and then slowly pull it through that hole. It's got to be wet for it to slide through. Once you get it through, you can adjust it to where you want. Some people will tell you, in order to make it even, you take it and you look at them, you measure them, and you tie a knot right there in the middle. Why tie a knot? That's larger. You have to make a bigger hole to be able to get it through that side. It doesn't seem logical, and let's face it, gentlemen, logic has to play a piece of what we're doing, because we can't outsmart the fish, we just try to. Now, you pull it through, then you take it and bring them all down together, and then trim off what you don't want. Hey, it's even then. The heck with this knot. So, once you do that, then you got to put your eyes in. We use bug eyes here. These are little eyes that are probably a ½ an inch long. The round spot of where the eye is protrudes outside the body. See how those are protruding? Now, those eyes have got a shank on them about this long. Use a pair of scissors, or I prefer dikes that are metal cutting dikes. I cut them off about halfway up, leaving a 1/16 of an inch of that pointed area. Put your bodkin again where you want them. You see, these are off-centered. that can happen if you're not doing it sitting on top of it. And that's what I did. I mean, I made a mess of it. But you stab it through and you come back the other side and put it in. You waller it out a little bit on each side, then you turn it over on each side, put a drop, just a little drop, of super glue right there in the hole. Then stick your eye in it. It's gonna dry. You don't have to hold it. If you put too much on there, it's gonna spread around the outside of that eye, and you don't want that. So once you put that in, turn it over, stick the other one in. You have your eyes completed. And that, along with the collar, is what you want for a bug. They're not difficult whatsoever. The more of, let's say, a procedure to paint them is what we're here for today, and that is called a stipple effect. Stippling is when you're taking a brush, you're taking your popper and you're doing small dots. Okay. I have paper towels on the tables. When you put your paintbrush, just dab the tip of it, just the tip, into the paint. Then you're going to take it and go boop on the paper towel in front of you. That gets the majority of the leftover paint out, because you're going to be using only the very tips of the bars on this paintbrush, and you're going to be putting it around. It's almost going to be dry when you put it on. As you move from one color to the next color, of course, put it in the water and clean it off a little bit. Then take just the tips of that in again, and then you work it. It's not something that you can see in a book, look at it on YouTube, and then do it. It's something that you really need to work at the same time. It's not difficult, and once you get to doing it, it's easy. You'll figure it out. Hey, that's a no-brainer. I mean, hey, if I can do it, come on. But they're easy, and you want to do that in a manner that you can blend it in. It's called molting, just like bleeding colors in, but it's molted, and that's what you want to do. So we're going to start out with, need a brush. Why don't y'all just try?
Can I say something?
about it, I'm just gonna watch him.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Howard was talking about using the tip of the brush to make your dots. Another thing, you can take instead of the bristle part, at the other end of the brush, dip it down, and then you just touch it. You can use different sized drill bits, chopsticks, toothpicks, anything you want.
Yeah, if you're gonna use a toothpick, what you can do is just trim off that end, make just a slightly wider diameter dot, instead of having a very thin point, you just use a dot.
You can make different sized dots and just field is wide open.
Another technique you can use is using spray paint. Is like you put a stencil over it, you come back with spray paint and you got a pattern there already. That's another class.
Yeah, that's the more advanced technique.
Let me get the paint in order. When you're using anything other than a paintbrush tip, I use a lot of chopsticks. Chopsticks come in a pair, so then you got two. I put them in a pencil sharpener. Mine's electric. Once you get it sharpened, then you take the emery board and you smooth it down. The important part is that then you have to do what's called burnishing. You're going to take the end of the chopstick, which is wood. You know, you're still going to have some fibers even after you sand it down. What you'll do is you'll take the end of your chopstick, put it on a hard surface like a countertop, and roll it as you push down on it. That's called burnishing. You're actually pushing into the wood and it's sealing it. Then you figure out what size dot you want to make. Huh, that's a little small. Dry it off. Take your fingernail emery board, bring it down a little bit, kind of take all of the extra off the end of it, burnish it, and then burnish it on the sides. Down, burnishing, and then on the sides. What that does is that gives you an even, smooth unit to do your painting with. You don't want it with the fibers sticking out. I'll bring some chopsticks in here and show you. I went over to Harbor Freight. Probably nobody ever buys anything over there, do you? I mean, the manager over there knows me on first name basis. But
He's memorized your credit card.
he probably has. But they sell these drill bits in there, like you were saying, Don. And it's a small package of drill bits, about like that. You take that, take you a piece of 2x4, cut it out, line it out as you normally would with a ruler. Put it in your drill press so you have a specific area that you're going to go down. And with each one of the drill bits, you make a hole in there going so far down. Now, what that does is that makes it where you've got all your drill bits in line. Now, take your drill bit, after you do all of this, take your drill bit, the part that has the drill on it, you hold